Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the phases of the moon, and it's one of those things that's very, very obvious when we look out from night to night to night. We see the moon as sometimes at a quarter or a crescent or full or new. Why exactly does that occur, and where do those different shapes come from? Well, first off, you have to understand the difference between a luminous and an illuminated body. A luminous body is one that emits light. So our sun is a luminous body. A light bulb is a luminous body because it gives off light. An illuminated body is one that just reflects light. And the Earth is an illuminated body, and so is our companion, the moon. I'm going to ask you eventually here to watch a little video on the phases of the moon, but here's how we get these different phases. Now, the first one is the concept of a new moon. If during the course of a month, our moon is going to actually be orbiting around the Earth. I'm sure you're aware of the fact the moon orbits around the Earth. The sun is a long distance away, and it is aiming light in our direction. So when there is a new moon, that's when the moon looks black. This picture, I don't know if it does it justice because it's hard to draw a picture of something that's black. But what happens is from our vantage point, when we look at the moon, it is this side of the moon is dark. This side is light because the sunlight is shining here and the whole back of it is in the moon's shadow. Now, waxing crescent, as the moon orbits the Earth all month, this light always comes in this direction. So this half of the moon is going to be light. But here's one of the interesting things that occurs. As it goes around and around and around here, I'm trying to draw a decent picture. Let me draw a picture here and see if I can make this make sense. What's going to happen is we actually only see a fraction. This is the only bit, that tiny little fraction, that we can see from Earth. Waxing crescent, you know what a crescent moon looks like, and waxing is while it's getting bigger. The first quarter is when this is occurring. Light is hitting us from the sun, and we only see this much of the moon. We only see half the moon at any time. The back half of the moon, we just plain don't see. But the light is coming from the sun, which is located over here, and 1/4 of the moon appears lit, or essentially half. Waxing gibbous is when we see more than half. So gibbous means more than half is lit up. When the light from the sun is coming in this direction, let me draw my picture better, we actually see all of this section of the moon all lit up, and that's going to be waxing gibbous because we, again, only see half the moon at a time. Waxing gibbous moons are always going to rise slightly before sunset. Now, how do you keep this waxing, waning stuff straight? I don't know if you remember this old movie, the first original Karate Kid movie. It came out way back, I think probably in the 1980s. And if you like old vintage movies, go watch it. It's kind of a fun thing. This young fellow wanted to be a karate master, and so his karate master was teaching him stuff by having him do crazy things like wax a car. And while he was waxing the car, the karate master would say, "Wax on." And he would always have him use his right hand and go, "Wax on," as he's putting wax on this car. Well, that's how I keep straight waxing and waning for the moon. If you see the moon up in the sky and you take your right hand and you make a little depression between your thumb and your fingers, and this is the lit up portion, the portion that kind of nestles right into that crook of your hand, that means you have a waxing moon, because wax on with the right hand. Oh, okay, that's how it works. So if it's right on the right-hand side, then you have a waxing moon, meaning it is getting bigger, meaning that there is more light or bigger lighted moon every night. When there is a full moon, that means that it is on the opposite side of the earth. The sunlight is coming in. We only see this half of the planet, the moon, and we are actually seeing the whole half of the moon. That is a full moon. Full moons tend to rise at sunset, and that's why you get these beautiful pictures of sunsets where the sun is over here going down and the moon is over here rising. Beautiful, beautiful evenings when that occurs. Third quarter is as you go around and around and around, you're going to get a waning gibbous, and then you're going to get a third quarter. Now, third quarter means that the left side is lit up. So you use your waxing test. That's supposed to be a hand. It's a pretty ugly hand. And if you put the moon right in here, and if this is the lit up side, the left side, it's not nestled in that little crook. That means it is waning, not waxing. The waning crescent, again, this is going to be the left-hand side. You get that little crescent. Waning crescents are often seen right before dawn, often observed with the planet Venus right there next to them. And Venus never gets too far away from the sun because it's very, very close to it. And so that's one of the most beautiful sights you can ever see, is a waning crescent moon in the eastern sky with Venus. The time the moons rise, and I mentioned this a little bit, the one that I keep straight because I can remember it is sunset. You get a full moon rising, and that is where it comes over the horizon. A third quarter moon is going to rise somewhere around midnight. A first quarter moon is going to rise somewhere around noon. And a new moon, that dark, totally dark moon, is going to rise somewhere around sunrise. So the time at which the moon rises will change depending upon its phase. Now, the position that the sun rises and the moon rises does change from season to season and month to month. So let's go back to our sun a little bit. As we talked about in the past, in the summer, the sun rises the furthest north it is going to get. At summer solstice, June 21st, the sun is going to rise the furthest north on the horizon. And as the year progresses and it goes towards winter solstice, the sun is going to rise very, very low in the sky. This happens to be a simulation of pictures. If you just looked at sunrise or sunset against maybe an ocean or something very, very flat, this is going to be at the equinoxes, and then you're going to have one which is going to be the winter solstice and one that's going to be the summer solstice. Now, the moon also changes its position on moonrise, and that's pretty interesting if you pay attention. The place that the moon rises on the horizon also is going to vary through the year, and again, this has to do with the tilt of the Earth. So it kind of works like this. When you have a new moon, remember, looks black. The moon rise is in a similar position to the sun. So when you have a new moon, meaning it's here and this side of this planet is, the moon is lit up because the sun is back over here. Because these two are in a line, the moon and the sun, during a new moon, the moon's rising position will be close to the sun. So in the winter, the sun is going to rise in the southeast from our vantage point, and so will the new moon. Spring in the east, summer northeast, fall in the east, as we go through those equinoxes. When you have a full moon, and the moon is on the opposite side from the sun, opposite side of the earth from the sun, what happens is you're going to get an opposite time for moonrise. So in the winter, you're going to see the sunrise in the southeast, but you're going to see moonrise in the northeast. At the equinoxes, they're going to be all lined up again for fall and spring, and in summer, these again are going to be opposite. So this gets to be kind of tricky stuff, but you will notice it if you pay attention to our beautiful companion, the moon. That will do for this one, and we'll see you next time.